The glass doors of the Wellington Institute of Arts slid open with a soft hiss, letting in a flurry of afternoon wind and the faint perfume of roses from the courtyard. Clara Wellington, in her immaculate white dress, tilted her chin as though the air itself belonged to her. She was used to stairs, they were her inheritance. Her father, Alexander Wellington, owned nearly half the skyline of New York, towers of glass and money that bore his name in silver letters. Clara had inherited not only his empire of luxury but his precision, the flawless hair, the polished posture, and the habit of looking through people rather than at them. That day, she was rehearsing for a small charity recital, something her etiquette tutor had suggested to soften her public image. Clara sat at the grand piano, her hands gliding across the keys with the efficiency of someone who practiced perfection more than passion. Then she saw her. Out of the corner of her eye, in the reflection of the piano's glossy lid, Clara saw a figure standing by the doorway. A girl her age, but smaller, thinner. Her hair, the same shade of chestnut brown, was tangled. Her face, almost Clara's, yet not quite. The resemblance was uncanny, but this girl's skin was rough, her eyes ringed with exhaustion, her clothes faded and too large. For a moment, Clara thought it was a mirror trick. Then the girl smiled, a shy, uncertain smile, and the resemblance became unsettlingly real. Clara frowned. "Can I help you?" The girl's voice was quiet. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I was listening. You play beautifully." Clara tilted her head, inspecting her as though she were a misplaced reflection. "Do I know you?" The girl shook her head quickly, stepping back. "No, sorry. I thought I recognized someone. I'll go." But Clara's curiosity was already piqued. She stood and followed her to the hallway. "What's your name?" The girl hesitated. "Lila." "Lila what?" "Lila Hayes." Clara blinked. The surname meant nothing. But that face. It was like looking at a version of herself that had lived a harder life. "Do people ever tell you that you look like someone?" Clara asked, her tone light but edged with disbelief. Lila's smile faltered. "Sometimes. It's weird, right?" Clara stepped closer, the faint scent of designer perfume filling the air between them. "You could be she stopped herself. The word twin hovered unsaid. "My look-alike. An uncanny one." Lila chuckled nervously. "You're being nice. You're really beautiful. I just look like the off-brand version." Clara felt a twist in her stomach, not guilt, exactly, but something adjacent. "You shouldn't say that." Lila shrugged. "It's okay. Life's not really fair like that." Before Clara could respond, her driver entered, announcing that Mr. Wellington's car had arrived. Clara gave a polite nod and turned back to Lila. "You should come to the recital next week," she said impulsively. "It's for the Hope Children's Fund. Ask for an invite under my name." Lila's eyes widened. "Me? I can't." "You can. Tell them Clara Wellington invited you." And with that, Clara swept out of the room, her reflection, and the strange echo of herself, left behind in silence. But all that night, Clara couldn't shake the memory of the girl. The way her eyes had shimmered with quiet admiration. Or was it sorrow? The recital was held at Wellington Hall, a cathedral of chandeliers and champagne. Clara sat at the grand piano beneath a halo of soft lights, her fingers steady as she played. The crowd, CEOs, senators, socialites, listened in poised admiration. But in the third row, amid the glittering gowns, Clara spotted her. Lila. She was wearing a simple blue dress that had been ironed carefully but didn't quite fit. Her hair had been brushed into submission, but it was still slightly uneven. Yet when their eyes met, Lila smiled, a real smile. Clara felt something crumble inside her chest. After the performance, Clara found her waiting near the exit, clutching a small envelope. "You came," Clara said, smiling genuinely this time. "You invited me," Lila said softly. "It was beautiful, by the way." She hesitated, then added, "I wanted to give you this." Clara took the envelope. Inside was a photograph, old, creased, and yellowed at the edges. It showed two babies, side by side, identical. Clara's breath caught. "My mom kept it," Lila said, her voice trembling. "She said one of them was me. And the other, the one who was adopted." Clara felt the world tilt. "What are you saying?" Lila swallowed hard. I think we're sisters." The room spun. The sound of the orchestra in the background faded into a distant hum. Clara's pulse roared in her ears. That's impossible, she whispered. My father, he would have told me. Would he? Lila asked quietly. My mom said she had no choice. She was 19. She was alone. She said the family who adopted my sister was powerful. They made her sign something. And she never saw the baby again. Clara's hands shook as she clutched the photograph. The babies' faces were identical, same birthmark near the eyebrow. She knew that mark. She'd seen it every morning in her mirror. I need to talk to my father, Clara said, voice breaking. Alexander Wellington was in his study that night when Clara stormed in, the photo trembling in her hand. Dad, she said, breathless. Who is she? He looked up from his glass of scotch, his expression unreadable. Clara, slow down. This girl, Lila Hayes, she looks exactly like me. She says she's my twin. Is it true? For the first time in her life, Clara saw her father hesitate. The pause lasted only a second, but it was enough. It's true, isn't it? She whispered. Alexander exhaled heavily, placing his glass down. The clink of crystal was sharp, final. Clara, when you were born, your mother had complications. There were twins. But she wasn't well. The doctors said one baby had severe health issues. The prognosis was grim. I made a choice. Clara stared at him, frozen. A choice. He nodded, eyes heavy. I thought I was sparing your mother. I arranged for the other baby to be cared for. Quietly. I didn't want her to suffer, or to be paraded as a tragedy. I made sure she had support, and adoption. But then your mother, she never recovered. I lost her anyway. His voice cracked for the first time in decades. Clara's knees weakened. You gave her away. Because she wasn't perfect. Because I couldn't bear to lose both of you. He said, rising suddenly. You don't understand what it was like. I was drowning in grief and responsibility. Responsibility. Clara's voice cut through like glass. You mean reputation. The silence that followed was unbearable. Clara turned away, tears blurring her vision. She grew up with nothing, Dad. She works in a cafe. She didn't even know why she looked like me until I found her. And you lived like this was fine. Alexander's jaw tightened, but the guilt in his eyes was undeniable. I thought she would be better off away from this world. She wasn't, Clara whispered. She deserved to know. She left before he could answer. Outside, the city glittered coldly. Clara found Lila waiting on the marble steps, her small figure trembling in the night wind. You were right, Clara said softly, tears streaming down her face. You're my sister. Lila's eyes filled instantly. He told you. Clara nodded. He gave you away. Because you were sick. He thought you wouldn't make it. Lila wiped her eyes. Guess I proved him wrong. Clara gave a watery laugh through her tears. Yeah, you did. For a long moment, neither spoke. The distance between them, 2 decades of separate lives, hung in the air like fog. Finally, Clara whispered, I don't know how to fix this. Lila smiled faintly. You don't have to. Just don't walk away. Clara stepped forward, and the sisters embraced for the first time. Not as strangers, not as mirrors, but as two halves that had finally found their missing reflections. The next morning, Alexander Wellington stood at the window of his penthouse, watching the city that had once felt like his kingdom. For the first time, it looked empty. On his desk lay the photograph of 2 babies, the one he had kept, and the one he had cast aside. He picked up the phone. Find her, he said to his assistant, voice low. Find Lila Hayes. Whatever she needs, education, home, health care, it's hers. No publicity. No announcements. Just do it. Then he hung up, his hand trembling. Downstairs, in the lobby cafe, Clara and Lila sat across from each other. Their coffee cups steamed between them. Lila looked nervous, but she smiled when Clara reached across the table and squeezed her hand. You know, Clara said softly, you don't look like the off-brand version of me. Lila blinked in surprise. You look like the real one, Clara finished. The sisters smiled, and outside, the city glowed.